Good evening and welcome to this edition of Newsnight. My name is Charles Odongtho, and this evening with old man of the clan, Andrew Mwenda. He is the CEO of the Independent magazine and a journalist by profession. Andrew, you're most welcome back. A new week, how are you doing?
I'm doing very good.
You're good?
Yes.
Business?
Good.
Today we are looking at the power sector. UMME is back in the news and things are not working out well. Where did we get to this? Why did we get to this point when UMME contract has to be terminated by Parliament?
Well, I don't think that, first of all, Parliament, a parliamentary resolution is not binding on government.
No, it is not.
So if the government of Uganda...
But very critical yet.
Yes, the government of Uganda is serious, it needs to ignore them with the contempt they deserve, those members of Parliament.
Why should they be ignored?
Let me give the day the members of Parliament terminated the UMME contract, UMME called a press conference to announce its performance for the year 2013. They had made a profit of 149 billion
shillings.
They are planning to pay dividends. So if you have such a well-performing company, how many companies in Uganda make 150 billion?
Were they not preempting the report because it was already on the
floor?
They
did not know. In fact, they had already predicted. You know, companies plan when you are going to release your financial results on the basis of your audit. So it could know that they were timing with what was being discussed in Parliament. That is one. Two, you see, I have figures here for the great UEB. Total revenue for...
Run through it very quickly.
Yes, total revenue 97, 66 billion, 98, 70, 99, it falls to 40 billion, 2000, 93 billion, 2001, 145, then 189. Immediately, UMME came in. It started changing the reverse. Right now, 2013, total revenue is 965 billion. 965 billion. I think they have even overtaken MTN as the largest taxpayer in Uganda. They're the company, I think, second or third to the telecom companies in terms of generating revenue, which means this is a very well-performing company.
But it is a monopoly in the market, and that is what the MPs are saying is causing a problem. Why should they be a monopoly in the market and not liberalized?
Assuming you have an electricity line running from here to Kamwocha, do you want to put 3 electricity lines in order to have
not at all.
So what you would call it's a monopoly by necessity or a natural monopoly in the sense that if you put the 3 lines or 2 lines, you'll be duplicating the same service. You just imagine building 2 electricity lines from here to Kamwocha, one by Mwenda Incorporated, another by Charles Odongtho. You clearly see that the MPs are not making a point. But let me say the issues they are raising. One, they are saying that this agreement was badly negotiated. Why?
True.
If UMME contract is terminated, government will pay a lot of money. Let me tell you actually what the concession says. That if government of Uganda breaches the contract and it's terminated as a fault of the government of Uganda, UMME will be paid net investment, will be refunded. Net investment. What is net investment? It is gross investment minus the cost of inventory change, what we call depreciation in accounting, that they will be compensated net investment plus 20%.
Yes.
If it is UMME which breaches the contract with the government of Uganda, government of Uganda will pay UMME 80% of net investment. In other words, it would be less than 20%. So the contract is very well negotiated and it balances out the costs and penalties of each side.
Then the third one, talk about the third one. The natural cause, flooding, earthquake causing a problem, and that government of Uganda has to pay 90% of...
No, it's not true. Government of Uganda...
The report is here, Andrew. The report is here, 160 pages.
Let me ask you this. If you attract me to invest in your company, I'll give you an example of this electricity dam by Bujagali.
By Aga Khan.
Yes, by the Aga Khan. Government of Uganda puts there a hydraulic clause, which is a hydraulic guarantee, that if the levels of Lake Victoria have already spent $500 million and installed a capacity to generate 250 megawatts, assuming the water disappears from the lake, what happens to my investment? So government of Uganda guarantees that if there is a collapse in the water level in the lake, and therefore you cannot generate 250 megawatts, government of Uganda will pay capacity charges to BEL, Bujagali Electricity Limited. Why? Because that's the reason you attracted an investor. If you don't want such a clause, no one will show up. But you are a student of law. You know that if me and you entered a contract and you agreed to rent me your factory and I do my financials and I realize I will be making $20 million profit per year, if you come and say, get out, I sue you for compensation of the investment I've made, but also business opportunity for gone. The money I would have made had I retained my contract, which you have breached.
Now,
so government of Uganda has a very good deal with the UMME in the sense that its liability on business opportunity for gone if it breaches the contract is only 20%.
I actually think I was looking at the contract for power generation in Kenya. I was looking for the one of Tanzania, and I think that this contract for Uganda is terrible. It is bad. First of all, like you said, in law.
How?
First of all, lawyers would call it maybe, is it illegal or void ab initio? Because it was, we need to find out from the lawyers who are practicing what that means. The fact that it was the Solicitor General, first of all, who signed this. What's your view on that? The fact that it was not the Attorney General at the start who signed this contract, that should be binding government. That should be one of the problems we should be talking about.
But really, that's a matter of procedural detail. It's not a matter of substance, is it?
Do you know why I'm saying that, Andrew? Because I actually, on principle, have believed that UMME being a business is not supposed to be culpable for what is going on. They are actually suffering as a victim. In my view, what we should be discussing is actually the corruption that is permeating the sector in Uganda that led to this kind of our legal officers. Should they be signing this kind of contract?
I think that the Solicitor General, I would imagine, has power to sign the equal powers of the Attorney General. The Solicitor General approves. You know, he's the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Justice. It's
not provided for in the Constitution. It is the Attorney General.
No, I can tell you, yes,
he
can sign for the Attorney General. The Solicitor General can.
It doesn't bind. He can give advice, legal advice, but not to the extent of binding a country to another contract that comes from out. In my view, I think.
But that is a procedural detail. So if it was signed by Andrew Mwenda and not Charles Odongo, so how does that affect the substance of the contract? Because the concession has requirements that the government of Uganda imposed upon UMME. They said collections. You must increase collections. They were collecting only 75% of the revenue they were generating. They said increase collections from 75% to 95% in the first 7 years. Right now they're collecting 98%. They said 2, losses. Reduce power losses from 38% to 28%. They have reduced them to 24% as per end of last year. They're above target. 3, they said you must invest $5 million. They have invested $165 million. Now they are raising, if you have seen the new one, they are raising $447 million to invest in this network. So they are doing more. 5, the contract, that concession said they should connect 60,000 people. In the next
300,000.
They have connected about 270,000 now. Let me ask you, you cannot judge something, Charles, you cannot measure. You gave them performance targets. They are measurable. They are specific. They are time bound, right? They have not only achieved them, they have exceeded them. They have even listed on the stock market. Ugandans now own shares in UMME. The company is making 150 billion shillings profit.
Can I make a follow-up?
Listen to this.
Can I make a follow-up?
Listen to this. I will show you where the MPs are wrong. You see, when UEB and UEDCL owned that network, they were not earning money. Right now, Uganda Electricity Distribution Company has earned rental fees of 200 billion shillings from renting this line to UMME. 2, please listen carefully. Whatever investment UMME is making at the end of the concession, UMME will hand over this network back to Uganda Electricity Distribution Company without anything. So in other words, the investment they're making will be transferred to UEDCL.
And you know my problem with figures that are thrown at people like that is because, you know, you can say someone was not eating and therefore giving the person beans which is just with water boiled is good enough because they were not eating anything. That's the same argument they have usually for UPE. But then there is the issue of quality. Because if you talk about from 60,000, yes, in 86, we were doing really bad.
No. Now, in 2005, don't make a mistake.
I'm saying we came from a country which had collapsed. If the government is saying we are really improving, should we really be talking about 300,000 or 500,000 people in Uganda, a country of 36 million people, and we go around boasting? Now, there is something I want to ask you, Andrew. We were here last week, and we had an interesting debate. You said it is good to open up the pension sector. Why are you not saying it is also good to open up the energy sector?
The energy sector in Uganda is liberalized. Please,
is a monopoly.
You have asked me a question.
Yeah.
Allow me to answer it, Charles.
Please go ahead. Go for it.
Uganda is the first country. First of all, you talked about Kenya, that the concessions are. Kenya has not liberalized electricity distribution. It has liberalized electricity production. So there is no. Uganda was the first country to sign an electricity distribution concession in the whole of Africa, from Cape Town to Cairo. I just want you to know that. Two, I have told you UMME is not a monopoly. Right now in West Nile, the distributor of electricity in West Nile is not UMME.
It's the Aga Khan.
In Kianjojo, on the way to Fort Portal, the distributor of electricity is not UMME. So Uganda, again, is the first country to liberalize electricity distribution. But within Kampala and many other areas, you cannot create a liberalized environment because you duplicate the service. It would mean that then Mwenda Inc. builds a power line from here to Mukono, and also another power line is built by Odongotho Inc. Odongotho Limited. It is unnecessary. So UMME's monopoly is a natural monopoly. That is not created by the concession. It's created by the dynamics of the electricity distribution market. That any other alternative would be a duplication of a service. Now the final one I should tell you. You see, when government of Uganda ran this electricity, which the MPs want to go back to, they were not investing in the system. UMME has installed 7,118 electricity transformers. They have installed more than 300,000 poles. Out of 26,000 kilometers of wires moving around, they have rehabilitated more than 16,000, and they are remaining with about 200 kilometers only. These people have made a serious investment. They have improved the quality of customer care. Right now, they are beginning to spread out, they call it Yaka, where you can buy electricity in advance like you buy it on your phone. Let me ask you, is that if Uganda is going to attract investors in the energy sector and in other areas, do you get an investor who is succeeding beyond all precedent and kick him out? Are you not saying that
the MPs are saying, government, review this contract with the view of bringing in more people into the market, let them compete with UMME, but make sure if UMME wants to come back and compete, they should compete at an equal level, and that there should not be the kind of
that recommendation.
Where if UMME defaults, then government of Uganda should pay. If government of Uganda defaults, government of Uganda should pay. If there is a natural phenomenon, flooding, earthquake, you know, name it, lightning that strikes UMME materials and all that equipment, government of Uganda should pay. Why should it be that?
Actually, that is not true. First of all,
actually, those three clauses are the problem.
Let me explain the three clauses. It's not true. A, if UMME breaches the contract, government compensates them 80% of their net investment. In other words, they lose 20. If they invest $1 billion and they breach the contract, government will give them only 800 million. They will lose the 200 million.
That is if UMME breaches.
Yes.
Then why?
Listen to this. If
legally, if you breach, you lose.
No, I'm saying if UMME breaches, yes, but you can't lose your investment. Let me ask you, assuming you signed the contract and I rented you my car, and now that I have rented my car, you invest 100 million shillings in repairing the car, putting in new tires, putting in new fittings. Assuming you want to end the contract, you are saying that me, I should have nothing on my car. So government says, we will compensate you up to 80% of investment, you lose 20%. On the other side, if government is the one that breaches, it will compensate UMME 100% of its net investment plus 20% return on capital. That is a very good deal for Uganda. Now, what these MPs are saying, Charles, really is ignorance. And we need to help our MPs to say... I actually
have read it, and I think it is not ignorance, because the guys who did this were very eminent guys, you know, lawyers amongst them, and they read through the report of even Salim Saleh. You remember the Salim Saleh report that had actually... it had some good things. One of them was the fact that it recommended that there should be a forensic, you know, audit done on the claims by UMME that we are making this amount of losses that, you know, government will then have to compensate and all that kind of thing. But
let me tell you, Charles, please. I think that people misunderstand losses. You know, UMME cannot over-declare losses. It cannot make losses of 20% and declare 25%. Why? Its revenue in the bank and its audit would prove that they are trying to cheat. I actually asked David Jamwa, who is, I think, the best financial expert here, do for me, how can UMME cheat? He thought they can do it. When he sat down and tried to calculate, he realized that the amount of infrastructure they need, and they would need to insist everybody pays cash, and they don't bank the money. And he realized that even if they were to collect 100 million shillings per week, they would be caught the next day.
Well, so Andrew, we Charles, have run out of time.
Are real ignorance.
And we are definitely, like I told you, this is how bulky the report is, and it is not a report that you can discuss in only 10 minutes like Andrew has had time for. But thank you so much, Andrew. We will be coming back to you any other time to continue with this discussion. Let me hand you back to the news.